Well. Looks like you guys are up for reading chapter 5 of The Outsiders. Hey, please pay close attention. I did put a video on there to help you better understand chapter 5. The front loading video is well worth watching. If you did not have a chance to watch that, please do. It's going to help you understand some vocabulary, especially about Gone with the Wind, being gallant, all that stuff there. Let's dive into chapter 5. We're going to read half the chapter and finish the other half on another separate video here. Let's get started. Outsiders chapter 5. Let's rock. I woke up late in the afternoon. For a second, I didn't know where I was. You know how it is when you wake up in a strange place and wonder where in the world you are till memory comes rushing over you like a wave. I have convinced myself I dreamed everything that happened that night before. I'm really home in bed, I thought. It's late. Both Derry and Soda pop are up. Derry's cooking breakfast, and in a minute, he and Soda will come in and drag me out of bed and wrestle me down and tickle me till I think I'll die if they don't stop. It's me and Soda's turn to do the dishes after we eat, and then we'll all go outside and play football. Johnny and Two Bit and I'll get Derry on our side, since John and I are small and Derry's the best player. It'll go on like the usual weekend morning. I tried telling myself that while I lay on the cold rock floor wrapped up in Dallas jacket, listening to the wind rushing through the trees, dry leaves outside. Finally, I quit pretending and pushed myself up. I was stiff and sore from sleeping on that hard floor, but I had never slept so soundly. I was still groggy. I pushed off Johnny's jeans jacket, which had somehow gotten thrown across me, and blinked, scratching my head. It was awful quiet with just the sound of the rushing wind in the trees. Suddenly, I realized Johnny wasn't there. Johnny! I called out loudly, and that old wooden church echoed me, Annie, Annie, Annie. I looked around wildly, almost panic-stricken, but then caught sight of some crooked letters written in the dust of the floor. Went to get supplies. Be back soon. J.C. I sighed and went to the pump to get a drink. The water from it tasted like liquid ice, and it tasted funny, but it was water. I splashed some of it on my face, and that woke me up pretty quick. I wiped my face off with Johnny's jacket and sat down on the back steps. The hill the church was on dropped off suddenly about 20 feet from the back door, and you could see for miles and miles. It was like sitting on top of the world. When you haven't got anything to do, you remember things in spite of yourself. I could remember every detail of the whole night, but it had the unreal quality of a dream. It seemed much longer than 24 hours since John and I had that dally at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. Maybe it was. Maybe Johnny had been gone a whole week and I just slept. Maybe he'd already been worked over by the fuzz and was waiting to get the electric chair since he wouldn't tell where I was. Maybe Dally had been killed in a car wreck or something, and no one would ever know where I was, and I'd just end up dying here and turning into a skeleton. And my overactive imagination was running away with me again. Sweat ran down my face and back, and I was trembling. My head swam, and I leaned back and closed my eyes. I guess it was partly delayed shock. Finally, my stomach calmed down, and I relaxed a little, hoping Johnny would remember cigarettes. I was scared, sitting there by myself. Heard someone coming up through the dead leaves toward the backside of the church, and I ducked inside the door. Then I heard a whistle, long and low, and in a sudden high note. I knew that whistle well enough. It was used by us in the shepherd gang for "Who's there?" I returned it carefully, then darted out the door so fast I fell off the steps and sprawled flat under Johnny's nose. I propped myself up on my elbows and grinned at him. "Hey, Johnny, fancy meeting you here." He looked at me down over a big package. "I swear, pony boy, you're getting more act like Two Bit every day." I tried unsuccessfully to cock an eyebrow. "Who's acting?" I rolled over and sprang up, happy that someone was there. "What'd you get?" "Come on inside. Dally told us to stay inside." We went in. Johnny had dusted off a table with his jacket, started taking things out of the sack and lining them up neatly. "We'll supply bologna, 2 loaves of bread, box of matches," Johnny went on. I got tired watching him do it all, so I started digging into the sack myself. Whee! I sat down on a dusty chair and stared. "A paperback copy of Gone with the Wind? How'd you always know I wanted that one?" Johnny reddened. "I remembered you saying something about it once. I mean, you went to see that movie, remember? I thought maybe we could read it aloud and help kill time or something." "Gee, thanks." I put the book down reluctantly. I wanted to start right then. Peroxide? Deck of cards. Suddenly, I realized something. Johnny, you ain't thinking of... Johnny sat down and pulled out his knife. Oh, we're going to cut our hair and you're going to bleach yours. He looked at the ground carefully. We'll have our prescriptions in the paper. We can't fit them. Oh, no. My hand flew to my hair. No, Johnny, not my hair. It was my pride. It was long and silky, just like soda's, only a little better. Our hair was tough. We didn't have to use too much grease on it. Our hair labeled us greasers, too. It was our trademark. The one thing we could be proud of. Maybe we couldn't have Corvairs and Mitre shirts, but we could have hair. Well, we'd have to anyway if you get caught. You know, the first thing the judge does is make you get a haircut. I don't see why, I said sourly. Dally could just as easily mug somebody with short hair. I don't know either. It's just his way of trying to break us. They can't really do anything to guys like Curly Shepard or Tim. They've had everything in the world done to them, and they can't take anything away from them because they don't have anything in the first place. So they cut their hair. I looked at Johnny imploringly. Johnny sighed. I'm going to cut mine too and wash the grease out. But I can't bleach it. I'm too dark-skinned to look okay blonde. Oh, come on, pony boy, he pleaded. It'll grow back. Okay, I said, wide-eyed. Get it over with. Johnny flipped out the razor edge of his switch and took a hold of my hair. He started sawing on it. I shuddered. Not too short, I begged. Johnny, please. Finally, it was over with. My hair looked funny, scattered all over the floor in tufts. It's lighter than I thought it was, I said, examining it. Can I see what I look like now? No, Johnny said slowly, staring at me. We gotta bleach it first. After I'd sat in the sun for 15 minutes to dry the bleach, Johnny let me look in an old cracked mirror we found in the closet. I did a double take. My hair was even lighter than soda pops. I never combed to the side like that. It just didn't look like me. Made me look younger and scared too. Boy, howdy, I thought this really makes me look tough. I looked like a plastic pansy. I was miserable. Johnny handed me the knife. He looked scared too. Cut out the front and thin out the rest. I'll comb it back after I wash it. Johnny, I said tiredly, you can't wash your hair in this freezing water in this weather. You'll get a cold. He only shrugged. Go ahead and cut it. I did the best I could. He went ahead and washed it anyway, using the bar of soap he bought. I was glad I'd run away with him instead of Two-Bit or Steve or Dally. That'd be one thing they'd never think of. Soap. I gave him Dally's jacket to wrap up in, and he sat shivering in the sunlight on the back steps, leaning against the door and combing his hair back. It was the first time I could see that he had eyebrows. He didn't look like Johnny. His forehead was wider where his bangs had been. Would have been funny if we hadn't been so scared. He was still shivering with the cold. I guess, he said weakly. I guess we're disguised. I leaned back next to him sullenly. Yeah, I guess so. Oh, shoot, Johnny said with fake cheerfulness. It's just hair. Shoot, nothing, I snapped. Took me a long time to get my hair just the way I wanted it. Besides, this just ain't us. It's like being in a Halloween costume you can't get out of. Well, we gotta get used to it, Johnny said with finality. And we're in big trouble. Whether it's our looks or us. I started eating a candy bar. I'm still tired, I said. To my surprise, the ground blurred and I felt tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them off hurriedly. Johnny looked as miserable as I had felt. Sorry I cut your hair off, pony boy. Oh, it ain't that, I said between bites of chocolate. Well, I mean, not all of it. I'm just a little spooky. Really don't know what's the matter. I'm just mixed up. I know, Johnny said through chattering teeth as we went inside. Things have been happening so fast. I put my arm across his shoulders to warm him up. Two-Bit should have been in that little one-horse store, man. Man, right in the middle of nowhere. Nearest house is 2 miles away. Things were laying wide out in the open, waiting for someone slick like Two-Bit to come in and pick them up. He could have walked out of half the store. He leaned back beside me, and I could feel him trembling. Good old Two-Bit, he said in a quavering voice. He must have been as homesick as I was. Remember how he was wisecracking last night, I said? Last night. Man, just last night we were walking Cherry Marsh over to Two-Bit's. Just last night we were laying in the lot, looking up at the stars and dreaming. Stop it! Johnny gasped between clenched teeth. Shut up about last night. I killed a kid last night. He could have been more than 17 or 18 and I killed him. Now how'd you like to live with that? He was crying. I held him like I held Soda. I held him like Soda had held him the day we found him and lying in the lot. I didn't mean to, he finally blurted out, but they were drowning you, and I was so scared. He was quiet for a minute. Sure is a lot of blood in people. He got up suddenly and began pacing back and forth, slapping his pockets. So what are we going to do? I was crying by then. It was getting dark, and I was cold and lonesome. I closed my eyes and leaned my head back, but the tears came anyway. This is my fault, Johnny said in a miserable voice. He'd stopped crying when I started. For bringing a little 13-year-old kid along. Y'all go home. You can't get in any trouble. You didn't kill him. No! I screamed. I'm 14. I've been 14 for a month, and I'm in as much as you are. I'll stop crying in a minute. I can't help it. He slumped down beside me. I didn't mean like that, Pony boy. Don't cry, Pony. We'll be okay. Don't cry. I leaned against him and bawled until I went to sleep. Woke up late that night. Johnny was resting against the wall, and I was asleep on his shoulder. Johnny, I yawned. You awake? I was warm and sleepy. Yeah, he said quietly. We ain't gonna cry no more, are we? No, we're all cried out now. Getting used to the idea. We're gonna be okay now. That's what I thought, I said drowsily. Then for the first time since Dow and I had sat down behind those girls at the nightly double, I relaxed. We could take whatever was coming now. Alright, we're going to stop there and put the last half of Chapter 5 on a separate video here. What do you guys think about that scene? I think there are many times in my life when, when those tears freely come out around people I trust, right? You know, because you don't cry around Derry earlier in the chapter because Derry's kind of a big, tough guy, but you know, you get your best friend next to you, you're alone, no one there to judge you. And I tell you what, Pony and Johnny together, those tears are spilling out. And it's interesting the effect that we see here because the very last line speaks so much truth here. It says, we could take whatever was coming now. You know, that kind of, honestly, to give me advice from my life, it's okay to cry, you know. You can get it out, get your emotions out. It kind of makes you feel like you got it out. You move on, you know? And that's what Johnny and Pony are doing right now. Hey, tune into part 2 of Chapter 5 coming up soon right here on Mr. Daniel's YouTube channel.